born together, made for elevation. I'm a soldier, won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. We're rising up, rising up, we're rising up, rising up, we're rising up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance. You can't resist us. This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. I apologize. Somehow I must have done something, but I hit a button and all of a sudden the whole room went black. I blew a fuse. I don't know how the hell that happened. All I did was hit a button and my whole room just went totally black. So I apologize for that. I had to go over to the board, redo it, come back and try to do all this all over again. So I think I did it in pretty good time, did it in less than 3 minutes. So we are here. I apologize again if you lost your signal at that 4 minute mark, but we are here. So we have a lot to talk about, but let's get the formalities first. Of course, for those of you who are new to the show, I am Joe Vollano. I am your host and your guiding light through the craziness of today's world, and it is crazier than ever. And it is not going to get any better because we have a society that is, I don't want to say for the most part, on the far left, they're woke and they're trying to cancel everybody out who has a different opinion. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how they're trying to censor people. But again, it's not just the far left. The right likes to censor people also. I know some on my side have tried to censor me. And listen, there's those that fall victim to it and kneel to it and kowtow to it. And then there's others that tell them to go screw off and they do what they believe is right. And we're going to get into the controversy of Joe Rogan and what's going on over there at Spotify. And again, he's just one part of it. And maybe it's because he has 11 million people that view his podcast every single week. Is probably a reason why, they're going to go after him. They used to go after, the great man behind me, Rush Limbaugh. For decades they were going after Rush Limbaugh, trying to get him off the air, and trying to get, liberals on the air because they needed someone to counteract him. The problem is nobody wants to listen to the left. There's been plenty of progressive shows out there. I'm sure there's plenty of progressive podcasts out there. The fact is that they're not marketable. Nobody wants to listen to them. As far as conservatives are concerned, conservatives, people want to hear both sides. And I think that's what Joe Rogan was doing. But we'll get into a little bit more of that. As always, this show always works best when you are involved. So if you want to call in, 203-679-9610. We'll get you into the studio. Or if you want to email us, straighttalkjv@gmail.com. Or, of course, if you're on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, you can always join in on the chat where it looks like everyone's starting to funnel in. I think a lot of people were caught off guard when their stream was suddenly ripped away from them. And again, I apologize for that. Had a quick little problem, and I still am flabbergasted by it. I don't know what the hell I did, but like I said, with a touch of a button, I was able to shut this whole room down. And I don't know what I did. I'll figure it out though, because now I'm interested to make sure I don't do it again. At least not do it. Pay my bill. At least not do it 3 minutes before the show. I guess is the key part of that. If that happened an hour before the show, it probably would have been better off. So, why is Joe Rogan the center of everybody's attacks? That's the far left, or those that are all for the vaccines and this and that, and you can't go against what the government's saying. And I think we're bordering line onto some dangerous territory where people are, again, and if anyone thinks that this is something new with attacking free speech, like I said, the gentleman behind me in his prime, they were going after him on a daily basis. Listen, they just don't like competition. When they're trying to indoctrinate your kids, they're trying to indoctrinate the people in the masses. And when you have someone like Joe Rogan, who has, again, 11 million people following them, it's kind of hard to, I'm just going to shut this off. It's kind of hard to not pay attention. You know, we always sit there and say is that, you know, when you're doing something by yourself, it's a little hard, but when you get a group of people together and 11 million people strong, people are paying attention. So there were 2 interviews that he did that has caused this whole uproar. And I think the biggest one was with Dr. Malone, Robert Malone. And as Joe Rogan said in his remarks, again, he was trying to walk some of it back, and he was trying to, you know, save some of the relationships he has with his bosses, which is Spotify. Listen, he meant it. Dr. Malone, he's not some kook on the right. This is the father of mRNA, which is the basis of all vaccines. It's something that he created back when he was 28 in college. So it's not like, and he, again, as Joe Rogan pointed out, he is the most published doctor in the world. In the world. So it's not like, again, he's not like he's some crazy guy on the streets. So yeah, when he speaks, you listen. And that's, again, why wouldn't Joe Rogan interview him? Why wouldn't he want to listen to it? To his views? Who made the government, and this is the big question I have, who made the government the be-all, end-all when it comes to information? As if the government never gets it wrong. It's absolutely crazy. This country was founded on different opinions, putting all different opinions out there. He never claimed, now Joe Rogan has never claimed that he knows all the answers. But he definitely has a right to ask questions to people that disagree with the government. This is not China. This is not a communist country. We value different opinions. I value different opinions. Listen, there's a lot of people on this show that do not agree with me. And that is totally fine. We've had some of them on this show. And we treat them with respect. I want to hear what you have to say, no matter how much I disagree with it. But you have the right to say it, and the people have a right and a duty, and it's my duty to make sure that people hear it and let them make up their minds for themselves. That's all Joe Rogan was doing. That's all he was doing. But in classic liberal ways, when you can't get to someone based on facts, you have to go digging through things from 15, 20 years ago, where he was caught saying the N-word multiple times on a podcast, which he even admits he was wrong in doing. They're trying to distract now. They're trying to distract from what happened with these doctors who were credible. And since they're not winning on that front, they do what liberals do best. They go after something from years ago. And we've seen it many a times before. Many a times before. They went after Kevin Hart. In fact, I believe they took him off the Oscars because of it. Because something he said 15 years ago. This woke cancel culture is destroying America. It's destroying free speech. And not me, but there are people that are okay with that. They're okay with people not having free speech anymore. It is dangerous for this country to be going down this route. They have nothing on him when it regards to these doctors, which was the whole point of it. So what makes what he said 15 years ago, which was bad, what does any of that have to do with what's going on now? Because I guarantee you, if he never had these two doctors on, they wouldn't give two craps about what he said 15 years ago. Am I wrong? They would never care. You would never know about it. But because they can't beat him on facts, they're going to go after him personally. And that is the far left, liberal, progressive playbook. When you can't win on something, you call someone a racist. Joe Rogan is no racist. He's no racist. Everybody knows that. People know the same thing about Trump. Donald Trump is no racist. But yet, when they can't beat you in the arena of ideas, the only thing they could do is just try to destroy your character. It is liberal playbook 101. And The Rock, I'm disgusted with The Rock. Dwayne Johnson came out defending Joe Rogan based on facts on what he said and what these people were saying. And then to come out and take it away because he used the N-word decades ago? Rock, did you agree with him or not? Because I tell you what, just because he said it 15 years ago takes nothing away from what he did now. Nothing. He still, in your own words, articulated what they were doing, what they were saying perfectly. So because he said the N-word 15 years ago, that somehow negates how articulate he put their views? No. It's all BS. It's all BS. Great stuff here, brother. Perfectly articulated is what The Rock said. Because Joe Rogan did perfectly articulate it. And that was the problem. That's the problem. That's what triggers the left. That's what triggers them. because they can't have that. They can't have a different voice out there saying that the government is wrong. Whoever gave Fauci the wand that said, no, you listen to me and nobody else? When did the CDC, who, again, has admitted they've been wrong, when did they become God of this country when it comes to COVID-19? But then yet you have these people just fighting the government's fight for them. And which is interesting because if you've been on Twitter, which I hate Twitter, by the way, just for clarification, I absolutely despise Twitter just because I don't think I think it's craziness on both sides. But I was loving the hypocrisy when there were a bunch of actors and actresses talking about what's the role of comedians in this country. And they were basically saying, well, who is it? Why are comedians talking about real world issues? And when did they get to be a mouthpiece for people of this country? Which is funny because I've been saying the same thing about them. Why? Because you can make a movie and you can act or you can sing. Somehow you're some kind of friggin' specialist in certain things. You know everything all of a sudden because you can sing. And then you're going to go criticize comedians because they're good at what they do because they build a following. And then they express their views and somehow that is now bad. It's an absolute joke. That's why I love Dave Chappelle so much. He's not backing off. I got to tell you, I was disappointed in Joe Rogan when he came out and made that semi-apology. Because you don't need to do that. You have a right in this country to say what you want, to interview who you want. This, like I said, this is not China. I'm told not to say a lot of things. Who cares? I don't care what people say. I'm not beholden to anybody. Joe Rogan should only be beholden to his viewers. And his viewers are not going anywhere. In fact, they're probably going to grow after this. Whoopi Goldberg. I know you guys have been sitting here talking about Whoopi Goldberg. Listen, what she said is stupid. So if anyone who doesn't know, she was talking about the Holocaust. She said it wasn't about race. Listen, it's a stupid comment. But she definitely should not have been suspended for it. You have a right to make stupid comments. My real question is, why did no one on that panel correct her? Do you know why they didn't correct her? Because they fucking agree with her. They agree with her. That's why they didn't correct her. It was only because of backlash from the right, and really even Democrats, because most Jewish people are Democrats. That's the only reason why they suspended her. To me, she should have been suspended. Who cares what she's claiming? She has a right to say it. We live in America. No matter how wrong you are, you have a right to say it. So no, Whoopi Goldberg should not have been suspended. Because if you believe in that, then you believe in censorship. Do you want to know how you censor ABC? Turn the channel. Go somewhere else. You don't like Whoopi Goldberg? Don't watch her. Don't watch her. When the ratings sink, trust me, ABC will get the message and take her off. A perfect example of this. If you go to Aunt Jemima, they took her off. They said, "Oh, you're promoting slavery. You're promoting, all this nonsense." So they took her off the pancake mix box, and they went back to their old, what is it, Pearl Mill or something, whatever it is. If you go to the store now, I guarantee you see all those boxes still on the shelf. And you'll see everything else gone. If you don't like what someone's saying, you don't like what someone's doing, especially a business, don't patronize them. That's how you get across. I'm not going to censor anybody. I want to hear what they have to say, even if it is messed up and blatantly untrue. It's not our job to dictate what is or is not proper speech. And it's definitely not the government's job to dictate what is proper speech. There are many people that disagree with what the government's doing. There are millions of people out there that think the government is doing nothing but trying to control the masses. That's what this whole thing is about. If you know progressives and you know liberals, control is the only thing they seek over the American people. Because with control comes power, becomes money. And right now, we are coming on. How we react to what's going on here will really dictate. And it tells me the government's paying attention to how people are reacting. Because if they think they could get away with this, listen, Joe Rogan, 11 million viewers. There's not too many people in this country that get 11 million views every week on their podcast. If they know they could get him like this, everybody else better watch out, because they're not going to be finished. They're not going to be finished. If they could take down one of the biggest podcasts, then the little guys are screwed. At least the little guys are getting paid for it, because they'll go after advertisers and everything else. We're safe here because I do this for free. And there are no advertisers because I don't seek out any advertisers. I fund this all by myself, so I'll say whatever the hell I want. And I actually prefer it that way. I have my opinions and I will put them out there. I will have guests on this show that have different opinions, that have the same opinions. But I will not be dictated on what I can and cannot say. Which is why I've chosen what I'm doing in the future that we've already talked about. But to me, again, Joe Rogan's, and I just want to read part of it on what he said. So I do not know if they're right. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist, Rogan said. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely. I get things wrong, but I try to correct them. Here's one thing that people are missing. This backlash, like I said, now they've gone after him personally. They've never been able to contradict what these doctors said. You go back and listen to any leftist or any progressive, and you show me where they have proven those doctors incorrect. They haven't. No one has come out and discredited these doctors on what they actually said. Again, one of them is the pioneer of mRNA. He basically created it. And since, like I said, they can't attack him based on facts, since they have no facts to sit there and contradict what he's saying, they now have to go after Joe Rogan personally, and they had to go back about 15 years to find a podcast where he used the N-word. And somehow, by using that N-word that many years ago, now everything you say and everything you do is now null and void. If that's not the most preposterous thing I've ever heard in my life. But that's where we are today. That's where society is today. That's where liberals are today. They will get what they want by any means necessary. They will tear down anyone that gets in their way. And a lot of liberals were big fans of Joe Rogan. A lot of people were big fans of Joe Rogan because he's a big pot smoker. He loves the marijuana. And they love this guy. But since the almighties, deemed what he was saying as misinformation, just because he said it, and it contradicted what the almighty government was saying, he is now public enemy number one. Public enemy number one. Even though, like I said, never once has anyone come out and contradicted what they were saying. And I think the biggest one was, what did I do with it? I had it. And this is one that really pissed off the left. Hospitals get COVID bonuses. Therefore, figures of death tolls are suspicious. And this is what he said. And the CDC, first of all, has already agreed with this. Malone said that it was impossible to trust the U.S. death rate for COVID because hospitals were incentivized to declare a death as a COVID rather than a car crash or a gunshot. And that's absolutely true. There's something like $3,000 basic death benefit to a hospital if they could claim it to be COVID. The CDC itself, a year ago in 2021, made a determination that it was their baseline was junk data, was based on junk data. In all, they got $39,000 if it died from COVID. So he asked the question again, is it really true if someone so Rogan actually asked them again, is it really true if someone has a gunshot wound and they're dying of a gunshot and you check them for COVID and they're COVID positive and they die, they mark it off as a COVID death? And Malone responded, that is the definition from the CDC, which was confirmed by the CDC, and that was in year one of the pandemic. That was in year one. So again, he's speaking truth and fact out there. But since it goes against what the government is telling you, it's considered misinformation. You should hear all sides. And Joe Rogan. So here was Joe Rogan's. This was Spotify's CEO. Based on the feedback over the last several weeks, it's become clear to me that we have an obligation to do more to provide balance and access to widely accepted information from the medical and scientific communities, guiding us through this unprecedented time. That was from the CEO. We take this seriously, and we will continue to partner with experts and invest heavily in our platform functionality and product capabilities for the benefit of creators and listeners alike. That doesn't mean we always get it right, but we're committed to learning, growing, and evolving. So based on our feedback for several weeks, it's become clear that we have an obligation to do more to provide balance and access to widely accepted information. Listen, this information is out there. Both sides are out there. If no one thinks that there are progressive and liberals on Spotify doing podcasts, you're not paying attention. Go look. The problem is nobody wants to listen to them. Nobody wants to listen to them. Again, this takes me back to Rush Limbaugh. Back in 94, really, when it really got started, Rush Limbaugh they were going crazy. They were going crazy because people were not listening to liberals, but they were listening to Rush Limbaugh in droves, who was speaking truth. And I love it, the drive-by media. The phrase that label to the mainstream media, I think it will last a lifetime, because that's exactly what they are, the drive-by media. They come in, they shoot out stories that aren't true, and damage is done, and then they just drive by it and they go to the next one, leaving a wake of friggin' destruction and leaving destruction in their wake. And they don't care. So how do you do this? How do you provide balance and access widely accepted information from the medical and scientific community? Who, first of all, who actually controls that? Because someone would have to. Someone would have to sit there and say, well, this is what's widely accepted. By who? By the government? Why don't we just let the free market decide who's right and who's wrong? People are going to people like Dr. Malone is going to point out what he believes is true based on his facts and his findings and his research and his knowledge. We've already heard what Dr. Fauci has to say. And how many times has he been wrong? The Surgeon General of the United States, how many times has he been wrong? He was the first one to sit there and say, stop wearing masks. If anyone remembers that, when this whole pandemic started, stop wearing masks. Don't wear masks. This was from the United States Surgeon General. Do not wear masks. Then all of a sudden it was, oh, you have to wear masks to protect yourself and protect others. They don't even know what they're talking about. That's why censorship is so terribly wrong. Which is why I love the fact that we live in a country that we have freedom of speech and we can speak our minds. And we can hear openly hear opposing views. If anyone thinks that's a bad thing, you are in the wrong country. That's what America was founded on. Being able to go up against your government and say, you're wrong. I don't believe that. I have facts of my own, or our group believes this. And we're going to lay out our facts. And then we can let the people decide. Because I know liberals would not like it. Would not like it. And would be praising these people. If Donald Trump was in office right now, doing the exact same thing Joe Biden is doing, and let's say this. Let's say Donald Trump agrees with Dr. Fauci saying, and we were doing exactly everything the same as we're doing right now, you would have the far left praising Dr. Malone, saying, no, they're wrong. It's Donald Trump, he's wrong. But since they're going against one of their own, well, they have to be silenced because there's no way a progressive could be wrong. There's no way a Democrat could be wrong. But it is good to see that some people are waking up. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that some still live in the same world where they want to be dictated to. They want to be dictated to because it's easier for them. Some people are growing custom, and I always said this. I said this for years now. When they start as soon as you let the government start taking care of you, this country's in friggin' trouble. Because once you start getting comfortable with someone else telling you what to do, providing for you, where's the incentive to go out there and accomplish anything? It's gone. You're just going to do as daddy government tells you. That's how you destroy this country. That's the quickest way to destroy this country. And liberals and progressives know that. They know that. That's why socialism has never worked anywhere it's been tried. That's why communism has never worked, no matter where it's tried. And slowly but surely, we're getting there. Look at inflation. Look at grocery stores. Look what the hell is going on in this country right now. If you'd looked at this a little over a year ago, we were in great standing. We had a great recovery. And in less than a year, what has changed? Other than liberals have taken over our government. What has changed? Other than liberals taking over the government, what else has changed? Nothing. Their agenda, they love this. They love what's going on right now. Far left progressives love what's going on right now. President Obama, if anyone remembers, when they were talking about gas on an open mic, what do you say? I have no problem with $6 gas. I just don't like how fast it's getting there. That's how they think. They don't care about hurting you. They just don't want you being that frog thrown into the water when it's already boiling. Because we all know what happens. It jumps out. And it says, no, I'm not doing that again. They want to place you in there before. They want to place you in that water before it gets boiling hot. So that you slowly cook to death. That's what liberals do. That's what liberals do. And they do. They never let a crisis go to waste. Who said that? Anyone remember? Anyone remember who said that? Never let a crisis go to waste? I'll give you a hint. It comes from Chicago. And no, it wasn't Obama. Never let a crisis go to waste. They live for things like this. And this has been a gold mine for them. Because the American people, for the first time, are saying, hey, I'll give up my freedom. Very good, Rahm Emanuel. I will give up my freedoms for safety. First time in American history that Americans, for the most part, are willing to give up their freedoms for safety. And the government's taking full advantage of that. Full advantage. Now, I will say this. Up in Canada, it's a little different. It's a little different up there in Canada. In Canada, the government has a hell of a problem on their hands. If no one's been paying attention to what's going on up there in Canada, this freedom convoy that they got going on there, they got like 500 trucks sitting there in Ottawa, just blocking everything up because they're being told they have to get a vaccine. And that's being mandated to all of them that cross the border. And they're saying, hell no, we don't want it. You can't force us. It's amazing. You know, we've been saying this for months, that liberals who are all about my body, my choice, have all of a sudden thrown that crap right out the friggin' window. Now it's no longer your body. It's the government's body. And we're going to tell you what you can and cannot do. It actually is quite ironic, actually. You know, and I get amusement out of it because I love seeing, especially these feminists, these hardcore feminists like the feminazis. Oh my God. To sit there out there and watch them. Well, no, you don't have a choice. It's for the protection of everybody. Oh, okay. What about the protection of the baby in your womb? Oh, well, that's different. Well, okay. Well, leave me the fuck alone then. You do you, I'll do me. If you don't like me, just stay away from me. But up there in Canada, it's gotten so bad that Ottawa has now declared a state of emergency. And they're basically saying anyone who helps these truckers in their protest will be arrested. And people are still helping. People are still bringing diesel to these trucks so they can stay there. I'm proud of Canadians right now. You know, I make fun of Canadians all the time. You know, our little hippies to the north. I think if no one's heard Daniel Tasha or Tasha talk about the Canadians, it's hilarious. You should go watch it. But I'm proud of them right now. I tell you what, some of them got more balls than Americans right now. Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, there's always going to be a top percentage. There always will be. But the problem is when you let the lower percentage decide that they're okay with the top running their lives, that's where the problem lies. Listen, I hate to say this, and I know, Sharon, me and you have this conversation all the time. Listen, at the end of the day, everybody is different. People have different ambitions. Some people strive to be rich. Some people don't. Some people just want to live their lives. And that's great. There's always going to be different tiers, especially in a free market. Especially in a free market. And here's the thing. Listen, they can do whatever they want. Only we can allow them to divide us. And again, it comes down to, are you informed or are you not informed? Just because you outnumber them, that doesn't mean nothing. Doesn't mean nothing. It means nothing. Being outnumbered, listen, we're outnumbered here. We still get things done. We still make our voices heard. So are you saying I should count out to Democrats in this city because they outnumber me? Or because they have power right now in this city over us? No. It means we just have to do more work to get our point across. We are that lower percentage right now. But see, here's the problem. We're not all agreeing right now. Because again, like I just said before, you have people that are now, for the first time in American history, okay with the government running their lives. They're okay with that top percent controlling them. That's not America. That's not what we were founded on. We were to be self-sufficient. And if you allow that top percent to control you of your own free will, it is the downing of this country. It is what will kill this country. It's very sad. I would never allow that to happen. I would never let the government have control over me on what I can and cannot say or do. So keep informed on what's going on and do your own research. Listen, I tell people all the time, don't just listen to me. Don't just listen to Joe Rogan. Don't just listen to Fauci. Don't just listen to the government. Listen to what they're saying, but do your own research and make your own conclusions. And it's okay if they differ from what the government is telling you. And no one should apologize for having different opinions than what the government says or what they consider the mainstream scientists. You should never apologize for it. And like I said, I am kind of disappointed that Joe Rogan did apologize. Never apologize for what you think is the best for you and for your listeners. So, on that note, I have a story here from Hartford. And a couple things came out of this story. I was reading through the Hartford Current as I normally do, obviously for show prep throughout the week. And I came across this article. Because guess who else is having revaluations? Hartford is. And Hartford, if we thought we were bad. Hartford, they are in for a big change when it comes to property taxes. Because as with Meriden, their residential saw an increase of about 36 to 46%. But they saw their businesses decline by 20%. So they went from 103 million. So one of the tallest office tower in Hartford fell in value from 103 million down to 82 million, a 20% decline. But values at homes went up 38 to 46%. Now, they have a little bit different structure than we do here in the city of Meriden, where their commercial real estate is done by is a 70%, which is normally here, but their residential is much lower. It's 36.75 for their residential. So their commercial building is paying a hell of a lot more, almost double what, a little less than double than what their residential are paying. So commercial buildings, you can see going up to almost, 75, 80% now, because there's going to be changes. But that's not what really caught my eye while I was reading it. My biggest thing was what the mayor said. Because if anyone remembers, when we said I think we should put these evaluations off. We should put these evaluations off a couple of years. And what were we told, if anyone remembers? Well, no, we can't do that because the state requires revaluations be done every 5 years, right? That's what we were told. And we were told there's no way around that. Well, that's funny because apparently is Hartford still in Connecticut? Is Hartford still in Connecticut? I believe so. So here's the one sentence that stuck out to me during this whole thing. Bronin, anyone who doesn't know who Bronin is, he is the horrible mayor of the city of Hartford that basically helped it go absolutely broke. I call him the Mike Rohde of Hartford because Mike Rohde, as mayor of the city and on city council, is probably one of the worst people for financial stuff to listen to. And he basically almost destroyed this freaking thing. So let me just rephrase that. State law now requires property evaluation to be conducted every 5 years. Bronin said the city could seek approval for delaying the evaluation. But he is very wary to do that, worried about further erosion in commercial property values in the next few years. This may be one of those situations where the best choice is simply the least bad option. So let me rephrase just that first one. Bronin said the city could seek approval for delaying the reevaluation. But he is wary on doing that, worried about further erosion in commercial property values in the next few years. So are you telling me that our city is full of crap and was straight out lying to us? Because we were told again, no. The state mandates it. The state mandates we have to do this every 5 years. Every 5 years we have to do that. When it's right here, Hartford Current, from the mayor of Hartford himself, that we simply can. Ask the state to delay the revaluation. Now, I'm not saying we should or should not, but to sit there and lie straight to us and say we can't even ask is bothersome. Because if he didn't know, that's even a bigger problem. If no one knew about it, if our city council, if our city manager, if our mayor didn't know about it, that we can, that's even a bigger problem. Because they have not put all options on the table. And when you're going up against something like this, all options should be on the table. When this many residents and this many taxpayers are going to be affected, when we know it's an inflated market, all options should be on the table. And to sit there and tell us that we can't, and we don't have that option, when that is blatantly false, is disheartening and raises a lot of concerns. I tell you what, Dan just brought up this, tomorrow night is the council. They'll be taking up the Mark project on Murdoch. Listen, that's going to pass tomorrow night. I think Democrats are going to be for it. Listen, and I said this a couple weeks ago when this first came up. It is not the city council's job to dictate to a company where they can or cannot go. It is not their job because they have no idea what they're talking about. When are they all of a sudden become smarter than the business owner on where they think their building should go. And I think this will pass. Because I think Sonia Jelks, even though she voted against it, I'm fully aware Dan Burnett did not vote in favor of it. And I don't know if he'll vote in favor of it tomorrow night. But I think Sonia Jelks was just playing to the audience. Sonia Jelks, I believe, was just playing to the audience. She had people there that were against it. She said, oh, I'm not for it right now, but I can. And if you remember in her statement, she said, oh, but that doesn't mean I won't vote for it when it gets to the city council. So basically, I'll pander to you now, but at the end of the day, I'm going to vote for it. And I believe this does pass tomorrow night. There's no reason for it not to pass. So I'm not anticipating that not. I do want to talk about, I'm not going to talk about it tonight because I want to see the PowerPoint first, but the Tremont project that's supposed to bring 80 units to the an old factory over there on Tremont. There's been a lot of talk about it this week. And I'm going to give my pros and cons next week after we have the PowerPoint presentation, I believe on Wednesday, I believe it's to the Planning Commission they're giving it to. So we'll talk about that next week. And that is not. Tremont is not a nightmare for the city. And we'll talk about that again. We'll talk about that next week. What that whole situation is. But to sit there and say that's a nightmare for the city in that area is completely wrong. Completely wrong. I think it's a great project for that neighborhood. If certain conditions and certain concessions are made. And like I said, we'll go into those next week because that could literally be a whole hour conversation on itself. Most people are getting very upset about the whole mix thing with the whole 80-20 thing. 80% a market rate, 20% affordable housing. In that neighborhood, that makes sense. In that neighborhood, that makes sense. If this was a downtown project, we'd have a totally different conversation. But when we're talking about revitalizing neighborhoods, we get into a whole different conversation. And we'll get into it next week. I won't dig too deep into it. But we'll talk about, we'll discuss that. I do want to talk about the new strategics before we run out of time here. I do want to talk about the new hire for the city with the new strategic communications director. So we have a new one here in the city of Meriden. And that is a Middletown resident, of course, Middletown. It's not from in the city, whose first day was the 24th. Ebony Crislam. I hope I didn't hack up her name. Crislam. She's the director of a bunch of nonprofits, and now she's here as our communications director. Among her duties is developing content for the city's website, social media, and other digital. The position also is responsible for utilizing various analytical tools to shape, convey, and receive communication in order to assist decision makers. Here's where I have an issue with. And again, I haven't met with her yet. I do plan on meeting with her over the next couple of weeks. But so among the duties is developing content for the city's website. And I had this conversation with Joe Fest because it was come to my attention that you can buy space on the city's website as a business, and it could cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to put ads up on the city's website. That's disturbing to me because now, again, the city's going to pick and choose winners and losers because it's if they want you to, because there are some companies that were reached out to by the city's web creator asking whether or not they wanted to be part of this. And a lot of us weren't. So my suggestion to Joe Fest and to anybody who's doing the city's website is to put a yellow pages of Meriden businesses on the city website. So if you are looking for a contractor, you're looking for an electrician, you're looking for anything, you should be able to go to the city's website, and right on the front page should be city's businesses, the yellow pages. The city's business with yellow pages. And you can find local businesses here in Meriden to patron. I think it's a great idea. It doesn't cost the city anything. It doesn't cost the businesses anything. Hell, we pay a lot of taxes in this city. So every business in the city of Meriden should be on the city website under the yellow pages. And I would absolutely hope that Meriden residents, that would be their first place to look when you need something done to your property, to your house, to whatever. So I'm hoping that they will run with that. It's a free idea for you. There you go. Thinking outside the box. I hope they utilize that. So she's going to develop content for the website, social media, and other digital. But here's the position also is responsible for, and here's what I do not like. I do not like this phrasing. Utilizing the various analytical tools to shape, convey, and receive communication in order to assist the decision makers. Shaping what? Information is information. Facts are facts. Now, she is in control of all these surveys going out. That is going to be one of her jobs. And why, in God's name, there is another public safety survey going around? They're saying, oh, we want to get public opinion. You've gotten public opinion on public safety for the last friggin' year and a half. You had like 4. You have raked them over the coals. And the people of this city have told you time and time again, leave them the frig alone. They're doing an awesome job. Will you shut up about the police department? Go worry about things that really, if you want to put a survey out, go put a survey out about your roads. How do you feel about your road? How do you feel about your sidewalk? How do you feel about the blight in your neighborhood? What do you feel about the absentee landlords running wild on the city of Meriden? You want to put surveys out? They're your surveys. Those are your real surveys. Those are your real surveys that will get some real insight to what's going on. But no, for some reason, they're going to keep going after this public safety until they get a survey that they like. You know, it's called insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result that you're not going to get. You're not going to get. Well, it's not controlled by the city, but it's run by the city. The city provides the questions for them. But why going after the police department yet again? And then the housing survey, absolutely. I mean, what are we talking about? Let's talk about quality of life issues, something that affects the citizens of this city every single day. The horrendous roads, the horrendous sidewalks. I think Sharon is the water quality. Let's tackle those. But they don't want to listen about that because they don't care about any of that. They have an agenda. They have an agenda. And the police are still in their crosshairs. I don't know why. I have no idea why. Because what is it? Her initial assignment is overseeing the rollout of digital survey tools meant to gauge the public's trust and sentiment towards the police and public safety issues. That's her first task. Hey, welcome to Meriden. Go after the friggin' police department. And they're using a third-party company, Zenesy, a global technology company that has partnered, the city partnered with on previous endeavors related to public health. Meriden joins a list of cities and law enforcement agencies that use their software to gather input into information on public safety decisions. Public safety decisions have already been made in this city. And another part of her job, to help streamline and coordinate a common message, is important. I think it is. This is coming from Kevin Scarpati, from the mayor. I think it is something we will continue to work on. I have no doubt she will be able to, and has already helped our communication effort. And to have someone who will be able to help with marketing Meriden is going to be critical. It's not her job to market Meriden. That's Joe Fest's job. That's your job, Mayor, to market Meriden. You, again, most people forget what the mayor position is. The mayor has no control over anything in the city other than veto power. Other than that, he doesn't have a vote, doesn't have a say. His job, the mayor's number one job in this city, is to be the face and the ambassador for the city of Meriden. He is to market Meriden. No one cares what she has to say. In fact, she shouldn't be creating anything. That's really not her job. If she wants to put something out there, it should come from city leaders or your representatives. When she says something, it's a representation of the city manager. That's his belief. Anything she says is what he believes. And I love this. The city of Meriden is a complex organization that needs a person devoted to communications. Why? Because you're peddling so much bullshit out of it? You need someone to keep track of all the lies? You do need a full-time person for that. That's what Kuhn said. That person has to be skilled. You bet your ass you have to be skilled, because I tell you what, no one's believing the crap that they're putting out there now. Skilled at getting messages out across an entire communication system. It's quite hilarious, my friends. Quite hilarious. They're telling you exactly what they're doing without telling you what they're doing. They're going to shape a narrative, as they always do. With, like I said, they tried it with the police department, even though all facts were against everything they were talking about during the use of force committee. They still put out a recommendation for a CRB against the police department with no evidence. So that's her job now, to take things that have no evidence and to shape it into a way to fit their narrative. You do have to be skilled in portraying bullshit. Yes. And I don't know how well she's going to be able to do that. Because to them, unfortunately, they still have informed voters in this city. Though not many anymore, as we clearly saw during the last election. We still do have some. And these reevaluations have definitely opened people's eyes out to what's going on and to how money is being spent. Because you have a lot of renters, and I can't emphasize this enough. You have a lot of renters that are really, really paying attention for the first time. And tie that in, and just keep this in the back of your head for next week. We're going to tie that in to the Tremont project next week. I need people to stop, open their eyes, don't look at this Tremont project negatively because it has affordable housing in it. I know people hear that and they immediately stop and say no. Look at the big picture. I need you to open your eyes, look at the big picture, and think of what it's going to do to that neighborhood and what it's going to mean for them and for the city as a whole. I'm going to leave you with that. And I'm sure many of you are going to contact me after the show and say, Joe, what the hell are you talking about? I know people like putting blinders on. And I know a lot of people are just, tuned into just focus into this one part of the project without looking at the big picture. I care more about the neighborhood. I care more about the city at large than to blow this opportunity. And we'll talk about it again next week. I love you guys. I apologize for the blackout 4 minutes before the show started. But we'll talk about this again next week. And until then, guys, as always, I love you. Take care of yourself and each other. God bless you, and God bless this amazing country of ours. Because this is the last stand of freedom. And I am watching it slowly disintegrate. And we cannot let that happen. I love you guys. See you guys next week. As always, again, love you and be safe. Peace out until next week.
And a million faces formed together, made for elevation. And my soldier won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from that cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from that cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. We're rising up, rising up, we're rising up, rising up, we're rising up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist.